I got to meet a lot of people there that I knew in VR for quite a while, which is kind of crazy. I still think it's crazy when I get to see them.
Hmm.
So it was fun. It was a lot of fun. They had two stages.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Metaverse Degen. I'm Lion, and unfortunately, we're missing a tiny little furball today. He is working still, but I am joined here by a wonderfully esteemed guest.
Hello, I'm Fyzika.
Oh, thank you very much for joining us. It's much appreciated. You're here, so thank you. Um, what is it?
Thank you.
What is it you're most known for here in VR, and how did you get into everything in VR and what you do?
I'm pretty much known for DJing in the music scene.
Mhm.
Um, Primarily drum and bass, but a specific kind of drum and bass.
Mm.
More, I suppose, on the harder side than what most people would think.
Okay.
Because like drum and bass is, somewhat pretty popular in VR chat, especially like in the European spaces. But the kind that I like to play is the one that people know me for the most, which is crossbreed, dark step, neurofunk. Those are the specific subgenres.
Okay.
Um, I've been doing it for about, uh, Jesus, I actually don't even remember how much time I spent in VR. It's
Oh.
about maybe. So I started July in 2022 DJing, I think. Oh, we're coming up on 2 years DJing, I
Oh
think.
wow. Well,
Yeah.
happy early 2 year anniversary.
Yeah, that's coming up real soon.
Hmm.
But I started in VR chat not too long before that.
Hmm.
I think it was about late 2021.
Okay. What initially pulled you into VR chat and how'd you get started DJing?
So what initially pulled me into VR chat, I had an IRL friend of mine who we were talking about VR stuff together.
Hmm.
And he happened to have a Vive headset.
Hmm.
I don't remember which model exactly, but I wanted to try it out, and he didn't really use it too much, so he lent it to me for a moment,
Hmm.
about a couple weeks or so. And I was thinking, oh, I remember that game VR Chat back in 2017 that I was on desktop when it was like, I guess peaking in popularity at one point, but then kind of like dropped off. It's later on. Um, and I'm like, okay, let me do this in VR. Let me hang out here. Let's see what's up. And just did a bunch of like exploration, looking around public worlds, interacted with a bunch of people. Some nice, some not so nice, but it's the internet,
Hmm.
to be expected.
Yeah.
Um, and then the way I got into the music scene specifically, which is where I have stuck with since then, I don't really go out like to publics as much anymore, unless like friends of mine are like hopping around like that.
Hmm.
But when I got into the music scene, it was uh a few months after I started, I think, like at least a couple months or so.
Oh.
And the way that I got into it was like kind of weird. Like usually people start off like going to Club Orion and then they meet people there and then some people know other events and it kind of just like branches off, right? I didn't know anybody in the space at all. Like I wasn't any friends that I made before that weren't really in the music scene at all. So I found it out pretty much myself through the Neophoric clothing store, which does the merchandise for Shelter.
Oh.
So I was always a fan of that clothing brand for a while, just for the like the designs that they have. And you know, after a while, I saw that they had some like pretty interesting shirt designs of like some kind of logo. I'm like, huh, that looks pretty cool. And I didn't know what it was about. And so I looked in the description. They mentioned the Shelter VR Club.
Hmm.
And I'm like, oh, okay, that's cool. I don't know what that's about. Went on their website. It's in VR chat. I'm like, okay, I'm already playing VR chat. I have a headset. I'm gonna go check it out. And then I checked out the unveiling of the 3.0 world because they had a world not that long before. So that was like pretty much brand new for everybody, not
Hmm.
just me. So I felt okay being lost trying to get to the actual like area I was supposed to be for the music because nobody else knew where the hell they were going either. um, so that was like my first actual interaction, or like I don't know how to say it, my first rave slash music event. I've never been to IRL ones really, save for like a couple concerts, but like electronic music specifically, never have.
Oh.
So yeah, like doing that for the first time, like this is a lot of fun. I like this a lot. So at one point I was like regularly going to shelter like every time because it was like one of the few that I knew. So it's just like, oh, I'm just gonna go to this. And then I found other ones later on, like Tube, for example, I used to go to quite a lot. Rizumu is another one. Um, and yeah, I just branched off from there, met some people because, ended up running into the same people quite often. And so eventually, like, you just end up becoming friends with them. It's like, hey, I see you a lot here. Like, how you doing? That sort of thing.
Hmm.
Um, but, at some point, I became friends with, like, some DJs just naturally because a lot of people in the space happen to be DJs. And, I figured, I think this is something I want to try. It seems interesting. And I also want to be able to share music that I like with other people. Because I noticed the stuff that I grew up with, I wasn't really hearing in VRChat that much at all. Like, at the time, like, Neurofunk wasn't even that big. I mean, now it's like you hear it quite often. But I wanted to spread it more, as well as like get into the even weirder kinds of like drum and bass that's sort of adjacent to that genre, like dark step and crossbreed. Crossbreed being like I don't know if you know what hardcore is in
Yeah,
terms of music.
I do. I'm familiar.
Yeah, yeah. It's hardcore and drum and bass, so it's like a hybrid genre. Hence the name crossbreed.
Hmm.
I hear nobody playing that, and so I figured, okay, I'm gonna lean into that a bit, and so the crossbreed is like the main thing people know me for, pretty
Oh.
much. That kind of drum and bass. And I was just having a lot of fun with it. I'm like, this is cool. I never thought I would be DJing, especially in front of other people, because I don't like being in front of people at all. Like, I don't like being in the spotlight. It's like nerve-wracking. I mean, naturally, that happens to a lot of people, but me specifically, like I do have issues with anxiety that I've been dealing with quite a bit. It's gotten better over time though. As I put myself more and more into like situations outside of my comfort zone, including traveling, going to like live events in person, going to VR/IRL events that are happening in like other cities far away from my own. And honestly, it changed the direction of my life entirely. Because when I was first getting into VR, I was at the lowest point, quite literally. It was bad. And over time, I don't know, I found more meaning. I've formed much deeper connections than I ever had with anyone in person. And yeah, no, I'm glad that off the random chance, someone let me borrow their headset. And so I was just like, giving that a go. Now I have a Valve Index, but I made the decision like quite a bit after I first started.
Hmm. So I actually have a few questions I'd like to ask you, but I'm gonna start off
Yeah.
more towards the beginning because I'm more curious. What was
Okay.
your first couple of shows like when you decided I want to share my music? What was it? What you expected it to be, and how did it go?
When I first DJ'd, you mean?
Yeah.
Extremely anxiety inducing. I remember it was, what was it? One of my first bookings back when Rave to the Grave was still active. Back when Bobby J was involved with that. He's doing more baptism now. That's like much more drum and bass focused. But with RTTG, that was quite literally my first booking. And I spent a lot of time preparing that set, like several days. I'm like, months prior, I was practicing. I practiced for at least 3 months before I felt like reasonably comfortable enough to decide to do something to show people. It, looking back on it, and I still have the file. It's pretty rough, but it's all right. But what was it? Yeah, I had spent like a few days just crafting that thing together because like I wanted to turn out right. Like it's the first thing that I'm like showing to people. Never done it before in front of other people. Always like did it by myself. And so once I did that, like it felt really good after the fact. Prior to it, extremely anxious, like hands actually shaking. So, especially since I was also DJing in VR, I made it a point that I wanted to DJ with the headset on. Because it would have been easier if I just did it on desktop, because then like you don't have to wear this on your head and peek under it just to see what what you're touching. And so I had practiced in VR quite a lot prior to that set. So once I actually started doing the set itself, the anxiety mostly subsided, and it was just more like me really, really focusing on it. And that's usually how it is with anything, like in terms of performance. You're just kind of like, the anticipation is like terrible, but once you're in it and you're doing it, like it's not too bad.
Okay.
So pretty good response from the audience, which felt really good. I had people come up to me and say nice things about the set, and it was really validating. I've never really, I guess, had that kind of experience before, performing in front of people in any capacity, and then people going up to me and just be like, "Hey, that was really cool." So that was cool. I like that feeling, and so yeah, I decided I just wanted to do it more, share more music, try different genres. People know me for drum and bass, but I also play other genres like dubstep or techno. Recently, I got into techno a lot more. And breakbeat, things like that here and there. I don't know. Sometimes I get bored of one particular genre if I play it too much. And it's like, I'm tired of this. Let me do something else. So these days I'm kind of like doing techno a bit more.
Okay. I do have another curious question about like your first time. What were you expecting it to be like, and versus how was it actually when you went through with it? What did you feel more comfortable afterwards, or did you still kind of have some residual anxiety?
It was a bit of a mixture, I guess. It like after that, I did know that I wanted to keep doing it for sure. But there's still that anxiety because it's like I'm not quite used to it yet. But I know despite that I can still perform pretty well. So it's like I'm self-aware of my anxiety. And so I know that I can just like move past it. So it's like I continue to put myself in those uncomfortable situations. Like if there was a pop-up or something, I would sign up for it. Like one time I played a bunch of tracks that I've never heard before. Like I downloaded them. I mean, I did hear them. But like only briefly. Like I didn't know the tracks like that too well. And so like one time it's just like random pop-up, whatever. It's like tracks in 200 BPM, hardcore, like screw it. And I just did all that without even preparing anything beforehand, just playing it without realizing like I don't know where the track was going. So over time I would get more comfortable with it. Like these days, there's still like slight anxiety, especially if it's a genre I'm not too familiar with. But not nearly as much as it was before. Like I feel pretty comfortable even playing just like impromptu or like in the moment. Like let's say someone like 30 minutes from now asked me to play and I wanted to, I'd be like, yeah, sure.
Wow.
Don't even know what I'm gonna play. Just screw it. Like I'll find something, I'll figure it out. Or maybe I'll play two genres in one set. Who knows? Sometimes I just do that. Not too often though. That's kind of hard.
Hmm. Well,
uh,
actually got two things. One, give you big kudos for putting yourself in situations that make you uncomfortable. It's not something a lot of people are comfortable doing. So pat yourself on the back for
yeah.
that, by the way. That's
Thank you.
yeah. And what did you mean by playing two genres is hard? I'm not too skilled at DJing or music
Oh, no,
production,
no, no worries.
so I'd like to
Oh,
know.
so like, yeah, it's much easier to mix tracks that are the same tempo, the same BPM,
Hmm.
but other genres, they vary significantly. Let's say, for example, you wanted to go from like dubstep to drum and bass, you're going from like 140 BPM to 174 BPM. Making that transition smooth or seamless or sound good could be a little challenging, but it's not too bad. I just don't often do it because
Hmm.
it's like that's a whole different folder I have to go through, and I kind of like staying in one folder is like pretty easy. That's how I have my music pretty well organized.
Okay. Well, thank you for.
But I know people who. Oh, sorry.
No, no, no. It's hey, okay. I have a tendency to kind of try and jump the gun, so I do apologize.
Oh no, no, yeah, no, 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 no worries. It's all good. I was gonna say, I know people who play like maybe four genres in a set. Like they'll play, I don't know, trap, Jersey club, dubstep, or like drum and bass, hardcore, like all in one set, and they make it sound good. I don't know how to do that quite yet. That is something that I would like to learn because it's kind of hard to, especially since they're completely different vibes sometimes. You have to know what works with what in terms of energy and vibe, pretty much. That requires like, I guess, an intimate relationship with the music you're working with.
Hmm.
And some people do it really well. And I'm like, damn, I kind of want to do that, but
Hmm.
it's a bit tough to figure out for me.
Hmm. Well, one of the ways I've always learned skills I don't know is just by doing it. Sometimes I hate
Yeah.
being that kind of thing. So I guess I want to jump waist deep in something I don't like, but sometimes the best way to learn.
Yeah, no, pretty much. That is exactly what it is. I just have to do it like on my own time, just be like, hmm, I'm gonna go through these tracks, move to this genre, move to this vibe, see what works, see what doesn't, and just experiment.
Okay.
Actually, that's how I started. I just experimented. But I don't know, sometimes I don't have like a lot of time for myself for those things.
Hmm.
Usually I'm like busy with other stuff or with other people, I suppose. But yeah, it is just a matter of doing it.
Hmm.
Like you can look at like videos and stuff like that all day, how to do this and that, but like doing it is an entirely different thing. You just trial and error, pretty much,
Hmm. So,
or trial by fire.
oh,
You just do it live.
you know,
That's also fun.
I've heard a few people share stories like that where they figured it out, and to be honest, sometimes that's the best way to learn too, because uh, sometimes in order to succeed, you have to fail first. So sometimes failing
Yeah,
at a grander scheme may not be great at the time, but may make the lesson stick more.
yeah, definitely. That's from what I experienced as well, pretty much. You just fail a lot, and that's fine. That's how you learn.
Hmm.
Not gonna get it perfect. You might never get it perfect, but you still, as long as you have the intention to improve, you'll be fine.
Hmm. So, what kinds of things from DJing or playing music here in VRChat helped you, or did you learn from doing it over the years?
Um, I don't know how to describe that. Like, hmm. In terms of DJing, I don't know. I got familiar with the structures of certain genres of music,
Hmm.
so they're kind of more predictable the more I actually mix them. So, like with drum and bass, for example, a lot of the tracks have a pretty similar structure in terms of like phrases or like how many bars are in a phrase, for example. And just being able to find places in tracks where I can mix out of into another track and just making it sound as seamless as possible. Because like my favorite thing to do when it comes to like transitioning to different tracks is making it sound like as if I didn't really transition at all. I can't always do that, but I think that sounds the best to me, where it doesn't sound as obvious that I transition to another track. And when I do get that, it feels really good. But that required a lot of like experimentation.
So how long did it take you to figure out that transition style or even pick up DJing in the first place?
Definitely took like months of active practice. Because even if I wasn't like when I was first starting out, I wasn't getting like booked that much because I'm like new. So that's how it always starts out. So just like on my off time, I would just practice as much as I can, try different techniques, pretty much. Yeah, just experimenting here and there until I found a style that I really like and sounds good to me. And other people seem to think so too. So yeah.
Okay. You said something that got me a little curious. How many or what kind of different techniques for transitions are there?
The one that I use the most is how do I describe it? I noticed that the most ambient parts of tracks are just like the easiest to transition into when there's like no beats per se. So like in between like major parts of tracks, there's like this like in between phase. So like, you have the build up, drop, and then you have like the middle part, which is like also building up to like another drop. And I'm specifically talking about drum and bass because that's like the typical structure. So the middle part is pretty much usually like some kind of ambience, especially with the stuff that I like to do. It's like usually like sci-fi soundscapes, things like that, very like dark, like ambience. And so it's kind of easy just to mix another track from that part. Because where things clash the most is when beats don't line up. But if there's no real like beats to line up per se, it's like mixing from that point just seems more seamless, especially when I like use my EQ and EQ out like the track that I'm mixing out of. So just cutting out different elements slowly, here and there, just like manipulating it live. Yeah, I mean it's easier to like if I were to just show you than to describe it. I've never really had to describe it that much before. So I'm like thinking of like how the hell do I talk about this?
It's all right. Just do your best. I'm gonna ask some weird questions because I like understanding technicals because I don't know how to DJ or make music or make worlds or whatever. So the best way to learn is just ask questions. So if I apologize, just do your best. You don't have to give me anything perfect.
No, it's all good. It's all good. I mean, I do make music too, actually.
Oh.
Yeah, I only started making music when like both me and Kitsune were like starting out in production. They have progressed significantly since like we started, for sure. And we would make like music together pretty much. We have like a few releases. And eventually like I started making like more like originals here and there, but it's hard. Music production is hard. It's a lot harder than DJing, that's for sure. But especially making something that sounds good. I have a bunch of projects, most of which I don't like how they sound, so I abandon them and then try something else. That's just how it is.
There's an author I read that may have a bit of a lesson at the end of it that may help you or not with that is there's a story, H.P. Lovecraft, for an example. There's a story he's most well known for, Shadow of Innsmouth. He didn't like the story.
Yeah, I've heard of that one.
Oh, yeah. It sat in a desk, his desk at the back until he passed away. Wasn't until his family found it and posted it that people actually enjoyed it. So just because you may not like it doesn't necessarily mean it's bad.
Yeah, I guess so. It's just like, for me, because I make music primarily for myself. Like I want to feel like I'm satisfied with what I made before I actually decide to, or at least somewhat satisfied. Like I'll never be 100% because like I'm the one who made it. I know exactly where could be better in the track. The problem is just like how do I improve it? And that's like that's just limitations of my knowledge, lack of experience.
Hmm.
I'm
Okay.
sure like a few years from now, like I'll know exactly what happened or like where I did wrong, just like improve significantly since then. I'm still doing it. It's just been kind of difficult lately. Um, but I still try.
Okay.
I'm working on a hardcore track. That's been going all right. And I had released something on a label recently. It was like a more like deep dubstep 140 type stuff. I'm pretty satisfied with how that one came out.
Hmm. So, what initially made you want to try producing music in the first place, may I ask?
Well, I've always wanted to produce music since I was probably maybe 12 or 13,
Hmm.
something like that. I've messed around in FL Studio a lot during that time period. The problem is like I didn't know anything about anything. So I was just like aimlessly like messing around with stuff without really understanding what I was doing. And it kind of got frustrating because like I didn't feel like I was getting anywhere.
Hmm.
Um, I could have probably spent more time watching tutorials on YouTube, but at the time I just wasn't really motivated enough. Too many other things I had to worry about.
Yep.
Um, or just like wasting time playing computer games, which is definitely something I spent too much time doing when I was a lot younger.
Hmm. Okay.
But later on, and this would be like 10 years later, I started to take it more seriously. Yeah, a lot more seriously. Decided I wanted to actually make something decent or make like decent tracks. Like look on YouTube, watch a bunch of tutorials,
Hmm.
see how things are done from people who actually know what they're doing, and just applying what I've learned as much as I can. And I think it's been easier to learn now because I'm surrounded by people who are in music as well. And I know quite a few people who also produce that I can learn a bit from.
Okay.
So it's like, yeah, it's because I'm in that creative environment, it's more motivating for me to actually continue pursuing it. And plus, I know people personally who would actually listen to stuff I make. So that's
Cool.
also kind of cool.
Cool. Have you ever played any of your music in a live set before?
I've played, in terms of like an original track, I've played only one of them. I don't like any of my other tracks that much. They're
Okay.
there. I mean, they're all right. It for me, it's just I know I can do better in a bunch of different ways. Um, that's just me. I'm just super like self-critical about the stuff that I do. But there was one track at least that I was pretty satisfied with that I felt comfortable enough to play in a set, and that was Descent. That was the 140 slash deep dubstep track that I was mentioning earlier. I like how that one came out quite a bit. I still listen to it every now and again.
Hmm.
And I decided to play in a set that Drew Roses had me on. Like it was a live stream that he does where he brings people on to DJ. Like I do like 30 minutes and he does 30 minutes. We just share music pretty much. And so I started off with my own track and then went on from there.
Oh wow. Well, kudos to
And
you
it
for
was
doing
fun.
that, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Playing your own stuff
Thank
live
you.
like that.
Yeah, it's I was like, do I want to do that? Like, am I confident enough in how it sounds? Like, whatever, I'll just do it.
Hmm. What was the response after hearing it? Oh, oh no.
um, oh, you good?
Camera decided to not work.
Oh.
It's working now. Sorry.
Response from who? Like,
Well, the people who are listening, be honest.
oh, good. Honestly, my friends seem to like the track very much.
Hmm.
people who like I don't even know too well, but have seen their names around in the scene also seem to like it. So I'm like, okay, that's cool. I think I did all right with that one, despite my reservations with maybe some parts of it. But I feel a bit better about it now that I had that kind of feedback.
Hmm. After getting that kind of feedback, do you feel any more inclined to try showing something again?
Yeah, I do want to. Well, nothing that I've already made, I don't think, but things that I make in the future, yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Like, or things that I'm working on currently, I suppose. I do want to make music that I want to hear and that I want to play. That's always been my goal. I want to make stuff that I want to hear that maybe I haven't really heard too much of.
Okay. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna ask another question. It's gonna be a bit of a hard shift, so I do apologize. I'm really good at whiplash questions. Um,
Oh no, it's all good. No worries.
oh, you did mention earlier that you've done real life shows. What were those like for what you've done in compared to what you're used to here?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, so I played live twice in real life.
Hmm.
Oh no, maybe three technically. But that was very brief. So I'll go in order. So July last year or June, one of those 2 months. I don't quite remember. I played at a show in Chicago called DataNet. It was ran by a few of my friends, and also a few friends were on the lineup. And so one time they had asked me, or actually Ikra specifically, asked me if I wanted to play for that event, and that was like months before it was gonna happen. I We were both just hanging out like in VR, like at a music world, and when they asked me that, I was like, I don't know. Do I want to do that? That sounds fucking scary.
Hmm.
Playing live in front of actual physical people. Like VR is one thing, but like playing in person is something else. And so it was too good of an opportunity to pass.
Hmm.
I didn't, and also it was a good opportunity to just meet up with other people too. That would be the first time I've met like VR people in person.
Oh.
So I decided, yeah, screw it. Let's do it. Why not? Like at that moment, I just said, yeah.
Hmm.
So I committed to it, and the actual day comes, and I'm like, well, like more like the day I actually have to travel there, and I was like, very much on edge the whole time.
Hmm.
um, and so, once I'm actually there, I got to meet a bunch of people from VR that I hung out with for a while prior, and yeah, it was really nice having that experience. And once the day came that I actually had to play, I went to the bar, I had a couple shots, and I played.
Hmm.
And it was one of the most fun moments I've ever had. It is way more fun playing live in front of actual people in comparison to VR. It's just a different feeling entirely.
Hmm.
And I wanted to do that some more. And so the next time I did, it was more like a house party kind of thing, but it was still pretty fun. That was for uh I guess not a venue, club, I don't know what to call it. An event that I run with someone else, Gina, called Sunday Brunch.
Hmm.
It's just a Sunday like chill music event, kind of a recovery party where we act world hop and then we have like DJs playing music.
Hmm.
So we also have an IRL event that we hold every year called BrunchCon. It's not much of a convention. It is pretty much a house party, but quite a few people do pull up. And we set up decks and we play music all day.
Oh
And so
wow.
I got to play there too, and that was fun. Um, I was also nervous because I don't get to play IRL often. So every time I do it, I'm just like super scared.
Hmm.
But I do it anyway. Um, And then the next time I kind of played IRL, which is what, like I mentioned kind of because it was like super brief. There was like a bit of an open decks thing happening at ShelterCon, which I went to this year. And people were just hopping in, hopping out, whatever. They had their flash drives with their music. I had mine. And then bunch of something, which is what he goes by, um, pulled me in because I was like near the front or whatever, just like listening to the music while they were DJing. And then he like pulled me in. It's like, yo, getting me to play. I'm just like, okay. And I was kind of drunk too, so it was just like, shit, okay, whatever, fine. And then I got to play briefly, and so I only got to play like a few tracks or whatever, but it was a lot of fun. Yeah, it's something I still want to do more of. So
Okay.
whenever that opportunity happens again, I'll take it. I'm not gonna pass that up.
So when you did these shows, especially near the beginning, what were you anticipating the feeling to be like in the beginning, and what what was like when you first got out and stared at the front of the people? What were your thoughts? Hello, just real quick. I'll only take a few seconds of your time. In the description that way, you have a card, Metaversedegen to card.co. We have many links down there for you to come check out. We have an X link, which is with me. We have a Discord where we hang out and do stuff all the time, as well as a Patreon link, where if you wish to support us, you can. Where there's also a show and another podcast separate from Metaverse Degen, which we have available to our wonderful members who signed up, such as Niche, Training Fangs, Aliquum, and Forbidden Zero. Thank you all. You're all amazing. Enjoy the rest of your video. I won't take up any of your time.
I'm just thinking I was just hard focusing on not messing up. That's about it. I just didn't want to mess up because like I don't get too many opportunities to play live in front of actual people. Well, that's a weird way to phrase it. We're all actual people here. I didn't mean it like that.
That's all
I
good.
mean like yeah, like physically, I suppose. And so I knew it would be fun once I actually started doing it, so I just moved past all those concerns and worries. They were there. I acknowledged them, but I didn't let them get to me. I just stayed focused on what I was doing and just enjoying myself. And I was. Absolutely. I mean, the first time I did, yeah, that was a lot of fun. I had a really good time. I still remember some bits of it here and there.
Oh. What was
Yeah.
ShelterCon like, may I ask? I've heard an awful lot
Oh,
about it, but I've never actually been.
it's a lot of fun. I highly recommend it. Culture is great there. People are really nice. Pretty much everyone is from like the VR music scene. And I got to meet a lot of people there that I knew in VR for quite a while, which is kind of crazy. I still think it's crazy when I get to see them. So it was fun. It was a lot of fun. They had two stages. So they had like a stage in and this was in the clothing store that I had mentioned earlier.
Oh.
Neophoric. So the Neophoric actually their store is also like a music venue. And they also have like a warehouse behind it where they have like the main stage stuff. And so they had two stages. There was quite a lot of people there. And I had friends personally that got to play. And so I was just supporting them for the most part.
Oh.
Yeah. Um Actually they had an open decks thing as well in like the store venue like the day prior to the actual event or the night prior. And yeah, it was like a sign up thing and it was like they choose like randomly who gets to play. And one of my good friends, Pibami, who I was rooming with actually, got to play live in front of people, which I don't think they've ever done before. I'm pretty sure that was their first time and they did really well. So that was a lot of fun getting to see close friends of mine who are given that opportunity to do something like that when they haven't done it before.
So what was it?
But
Oh, sorry. I do apologize again.
oh, that's okay. No, I mean, go ahead. I actually ask your question.
Oh no, you go. You please go first. I don't want to
Yeah.
interrupt your thoughts.
um, But just I don't know I want as soon as like the event was over, I just wanted to go to wherever the hell like is happening like after that, like if there's another ShelterCon happening soon or not or whatever, or next year. Like I'm just anticipating the next thing. I
Hmm.
had way too much fun.
Hmm.
Like the people I was with were really good people to be around. Like I just feel good around them.
Cool.
So I don't know, I miss that because we were like physically there. Now we're not. We're spread across the continent,
Hmm.
which sucks. So it was a really good experience. Also they had free food.
Oh.
Like on the actual like day of the event at the area where you would buy drinks, they would just give you a free hot dog or free pizza and you could just have like as many as you wanted. Like they were just giving them out for free, which is sick.
Oh. That's really
I didn't
awesome.
anticipate they would do that. Yeah, which is good because people drink a lot. VR people especially drink a lot, so it would do them good to have some food in their system so they don't harm themselves.
Yeah, we've all
um,
seen the few VR people who can drink just start in the morning and it's like the day after and they're upside down somewhere in drinking night or something.
oh my god. Yeah, I've never quite gotten. Okay, no, I'd be lying if I said I've never quite gotten that bad. Only twice.
Hmm.
Only twice. But I know better now. I know my limits. I'm not trying to do too much. But no, it was fun. There was a lot of weed there. A lot of weed. I was surprised. Like, yeah, there was a lot to go around. But no, it was a good time. It was a really good time. And I can't wait to go to the next one because I'm 100% going to it.
Oh. Well, I'm glad you had such a positive experience there. What was meeting your
Hmm.
friends like? People you know from VR in real life?
Because like some of them don't know what I look like. Some of them did already like spot me pretty easily because like I'm not private about my appearance at all.
Mm.
Once I played like IRL in that Chicago event that I mentioned earlier, pictures of me were out there. Some really nice pictures, mind you, by Sushi Ferret. She's an excellent photographer. So
Mm.
you might have seen some of her work. And every now and again when she goes to like IRL events, she takes pictures of people and they look sick.
Oh.
Um, but ever since then, I kind of didn't care about like my I guess face being out there. Like I was a bit apprehensive at first, but then after that, like yeah, whatever.
Mm.
And so some people knew me by like seeing those pictures on my Twitter, and they like actually one friend of mine, I was trying to find them because they were there at the event, and we've been talking and we like vibe really well with each other. Stranger the Fox, that was
Mm.
his name, and I was looking for him. We were messaging each other on Discord, and I'm like, "Yo, I'm outside the venue. Like, where are you?" And I'm just like looking around. And I'm just like, I don't know where the hell this guy is. And then he like, he walks. I see him. He like right before like he walks up to me, and then he like picks me up and just like takes me away to like the house that's like next door because like a bunch of shelter people were like Airbnb like on the house next to the venue. So that was like I guess more like the area like some other people were hanging out in.
Mm.
So they weren't just in the venue; they were also like in the house like next to it. And so bro just like grabbed me, picked me up, and just like took me. And that was like my first interaction with him. I'm just like, dude, what the hell? I'm being kidnapped. And I felt like some people were looking; they were kind of concerned. But it was. I tried to. I didn't want to make it seem like it was a bad thing. I was like laughing.
Mm.
So. But no, I was hanging out with him like for a good chunk of the event. Like he was super cool to be around. He's a lot bigger than me. I'm pretty short. I'm 5'5". So and I don't weigh much. So I'm very easy to just grab and pick up. And it's happened quite a few times every time I meet people from IRL or like VR and IRL.
Hmm.
I don't know why. They have the compulsion to do it.
Oh.
But it's cool, like, um, there's some like cases where like I know what the other person looks like, but they didn't know what I look like. So I went up to them and I'm like, I ask just to be sure. Like I say their username and it's like yeah, and then I say mine and they're like, oh shit, and then we hug and it's like super nice.
Hmm. Were
Yeah.
were they what you thought they looked like just knowing them in VR before seeing their face?
Um. Honestly, these days I don't really have expectations on what people look like.
Hmm.
Cause like the way people present themselves in VR can differ significantly to how they present themselves in real life. I mean, they almost always the case to be honest.
That's fair.
Um, so I can't really go based off of that, but their vibes, as long as they're the same in that regard, that's like what I want.
Hmm.
I've had like interactions where like the way someone is like in VR differed pretty significantly to how they are in person,
Hmm.
and that rubs me the wrong way and kind of puts me off.
Hmm.
Um, because like I feel like I don't really know them in that case, and it just feels kind of off. But pretty much everyone that I would consider like pretty good friends with or pretty close is like the same
Hmm.
in VR and in person. So the energy's the same. The appearance is like may not be what I probably expect, but these days like I try not to have like any expectations because people vary significantly. Like you can't really go based off of like their voice or how they present themselves
Yeah,
in VR.
you have a point there. Would
Hmm.
seeing people you know in VR chat be something you would suggest people try or do, or would you suggest otherwise?
Well, I've only had good experiences,
Hmm.
so I would suggest that for sure. Meet up with people that you consider good friends for sure,
Hmm.
or that you consider close. Now meeting people you don't know too well, I mean, it could be fun. There was people that I've met that I didn't really know that well at all, and then we hung out, and it was a good time.
Hmm.
I haven't really had a bad experience with anybody.
Okay.
Maybe awkward, but it was never like, you know, nothing bad at all. So definitely like if you have people in VR that you know are going to like a thing in person and you have the opportunity to go to that event as well or a gathering, definitely do it if it's possible. I know like traveling can be expensive for a lot of people as well, so it's like within reason.
Hmm.
But the moment that you have the opportunity to do so for real, don't let like anxieties or worries get in the way. It's a very fulfilling experience.
Hmm. I can only imagine. So I'm gonna ask you another whiplashy question in a different direction. What were some moments
Yeah.
from VR chat, either it could be DJing in the club scene, real life or otherwise, that have stuck with you or meant something to you?
Oh, that's a good question actually. I have to think about that.
I didn't mean to step you up. Sorry.
Something that's stuck with me. I guess the one thing that sticks with me the most is that there are some genuinely very, very good people in this space.
Hmm.
Like more so than I ever thought. Because I've had friends, like IRL friends in high school and stuff like that, but I realized my connections with them didn't really run that deep. I just didn't know what a deep connection with somebody really was
Hmm.
until I started like, interacting in this space and making friends with people.
Oh.
So, yeah, that is the one thing that sticks with me the most. And it's not like unique to the music scene or anything like that, but there are quite a lot of good people here, despite, maybe nonsense on the internet, vitriol, or just like people saying bad things about each other. There are still like a lot of good people in this space. And honestly, what I just recommend is just like find those really good people and just stick with them.
Mm.
Like that's it. Like you don't have to get involved in whatever the latest nonsense is on the internet.
Mm. That's a very fair
Separate
point.
yourself from that and just stick with people that you know are good for you.
Mm. Yeah, that's some pretty good advice. Not everyone could separate themselves from the excitement of the internet.
I mean, there's like a chemical response to just engaging in that stuff. I don't know if it's dopamine or what, but like, being arguing on the internet, talking crap, it can be exhilarating,
Mm.
but is it good? No. I'm not gonna say I haven't done it myself. I have. I absolutely have.
Mm.
But I'm trying not to. I want to focus on the good things as much as
Mm.
I can. It's very easy to fall into just like, and I've been in those space like that headspace before. It's like, oh, maybe there's something about like the scene I don't like, and then like I ruminate on it, and then I'm like, damn, like maybe I don't like it here, maybe I don't fit in, stuff like that. But I'm like, no, that's not the case at all. I just need to change my perspective because there's a lot of good in it as well.
Mm.
And I've been trying to like relearn that pretty much. I've
Mm.
been trying to enjoy it more because I've had moments where I'm just like, I don't want to be here anymore. I won't get into why too deeply. Um, but I've been like working on myself better in that regard.
Mm.
So I'm enjoying VR more these days.
Mm. I can actually empathize with you a bit on a bit of those statements. I was in a very dark mindset before I came into VRChat, and it wasn't. I learned a few lessons coming into VR. Many people, such as one, anything I thought of people generally was wrong. Two, a lot of what I felt stemmed from what I spoke. So a lot of the time, what I said about things generally stemmed to what I thought about things. It's a lot like when you look at food. I just don't like the food, and because you say that and that's what you think, your body's response is, I don't like the food. So with that said, it took actually stepping out of a comfort zone for me to learn that myself. So I wish you the best of luck in that journey yourself.
Mm-hmm. No, yeah. I've just been. Sometimes I don't even go to like music events as much. I'll just hang out like with friends one on one, or just like in a group. We'll do something else entirely. And
Mm.
honestly, it's been more fun that way. Because like always going to music events may not be the thing I want to do all the time.
Mm.
It can be kind of exhausting sometimes. But it was like my focus for so long. So it's like it's all I knew for quite a while.
Mm.
So I'm trying to like branch out of that. Like the other weekend, like I did karaoke, which I don't sing, so that was interesting.
Mm.
And I don't know how to sing. So, it was still fun
Mm.
despite the potential embarrassment. But regardless, just like things outside of just regular music scene stuff, it's good to have like that kind of like outside perspective on things.
Mm.
Just like not get too in your head or too into like, you know,
Yeah.
maybe not so good things that happen
Mm.
or that people talk about. It's too easy to focus on negatives like that. And there's people who do focus on the negatives way too often, and it's like it feedback loops because they all hang out with each other.
Mm. Indeed.
So yeah, so I try to surround myself with more like positive influences as much as I can. And I try not to complain too much about things because I know how that comes off. I still do, and I'm self-aware about it. It's hard.
Mm.
It is hard.
It
Um,
can be.
but yeah, but I do enjoy it. I do enjoy being in VR. I do enjoy hanging out with people that I consider close
Mm.
and listening to good music.
Mm. Well, with like a lot of things, sometimes the longest journey starts with a single step.
Yeah, yeah, pretty much. Like I'm trying to be more intentional about it.
Mm.
I think it'll get better.
Okay. So
Yeah.
another question I have for you, it's a bit off left field. How many shows do you normally do in VR? Like a week?
Um, it varies a lot.
Hmm.
Like there was a month where I was doing like probably like 5 shows, 6 shows in that month.
Hmm.
Um, which for me is kind of a lot because I like to spend time preparing sets beforehand usually
Okay.
and like finding new music, and that takes time quite a lot.
Okay.
There was one time where I was playing like 3 shows in one weekend. I will never do that again. That was way too stressful. Way too stressful.
Hmm.
Um, and these days it's like maybe 3 shows a month, 2 or 3. Not too. I don't really get booked like too often, at least compared to my friends. My friends get booked way more than me, but that's fine. I don't want to get booked a lot. Like that's I usually don't turn it down, so I'll end up taking on more than I can handle probably. um, but yeah, just it's a pretty balanced amount these days. I'm pretty all right with how it is right now.
Okay. Um, how would you normally prepare for a set? I'm just curious.
Depends on the genre,
Hmm?
but generally I just not too complicated. I just like look for new music in case I've like played too much of those tracks already before and I'm like kind of over them. Then I'll just like go out and like I say go out. I don't know why I said that. I'm in my room. But I would go and just look for more music that is like adjacent to like a particular vibe that I'm going for. Like with the techno that I've been playing lately, for example, like I've been looking for hybrid techno, acid techno, and shrans and hard techno.
Hmm.
And so I think they work pretty well together in one set and offers enough variety to keep the set interesting without it sounding like just as if I'm playing this like same or similar tracks for an hour. Because for me, that's boring. I couldn't play like one particular type of music for an hour because I wanted to keep it interesting for myself too. I'm sure the audience is perfectly fine with that, but for me, it's like I wanted to keep it interesting for myself. So it's like I try to introduce maybe like variations of a particular genre in the same set while still matching the vibe pretty generally. And that's like my thought processes when I'm like preparing them.
Okay.
Um, pretty much.
Oh. How long have you been doing the multi-genre thing, may I ask?
Um, mm, I couldn't tell you. I have no idea. Maybe about a year.
Hmm. Okay.
Maybe like a year now or something like that. I haven't. It was like a gradual thing, so I don't quite know. Um, yeah, maybe about a year or something like that.
Okay.
Like I wanted to make sets that sound dynamic or kind of actually when I started out I was doing some sets that conveyed more of like a story or like narrative or concept. And those were like more of like that's like more of the artsy stuff that I used to do that I occasionally I still do every now and again. Like PSHQ's Full Moon event was like the last conceptual set that I've done.
Hmm.
That was the concept of like coldness. So I played a bunch of music that related to that vibe.
Okay.
And it was more like down tempo, like chill stuff. Um, but like when it comes to like just like multi-genre stuff in my regular sets, yeah, like I want the sets to sound dynamic. I want them to sound interesting. I want it to subvert expectations. And I want it to grabs people's attention for the entirety of it.
Hmm.
I don't want it to be boring. And I feel like if I play the same sound for an hour, to me that's boring. I don't know. That's just me though.
Hey, to each their own. Everyone does things differently. There's more than one way to skin the cat. So as long as you're happy and
That's
you enjoy what you do, keep at it.
yeah.
I
No,
don't.
yeah, it's primarily for me. Like because that's what I want to hear.
Hmm.
So I'm just like, yeah, I want to do it this way because that's how I like to hear it. And as a consequence of that, other people like it too. So it works out
Hmm.
for everybody involved.
Okay. Now, as another random
Yeah.
question, I'm gonna keep you on your toes. By the way, from all
Oh shit.
from VR and IRL shows, which would you prefer doing?
Um, I'm not sure because like the IRL shows that I did was in me playing for people that I knew.
Hmm.
Like a lot of the people in like the audiences were people I knew, so it was like it was cool, it was fun. It feels better like playing for friends than playing for strangers, to be honest.
Hmm.
Um, but that's a good question. I haven't really put too much thought into that, but maybe I did enjoy the times I played IRL though, so I do want to do more of that.
Hmm.
I
Okay.
think I would like to do more of those for sure. Um, as long as I get to play stuff that I like the most. Because, when it comes to like IRL shows, unless like the stuff that I like is very, very underground,
Hmm.
especially in the United States. Like I pull a lot of my music from like Europe primarily. So it would be pretty popular there, but the US it's like it's pretty far behind when it comes to electronic music compared to some genres in Europe.
Okay.
Um like Americans are just getting into hardcore, for example.
Ah.
I mean, it's always been there, but like it's starting to gain more traction these days.
Hmm.
Um, so like depending on where I get booked, it's like maybe I'm expected to play a particular like kind of music that like I think maybe I'll like, but I don't like as much as the stuff that I normally do. So I don't know. I'm not entirely sure. As long as I get to play stuff I really like, then I would prefer IRL, I think.
Okay. Well, I hope you're
Yeah.
able to play more IRL shows personally. I wish you the best of luck with
Me
that.
too. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Um, so last couple of questions before we wrap up. First of which is
hmm
this is a new question I've been starting to ask people because I'm curious, where did your name come from? And why choose the avatar
Oh,
you're in?
oh, good questions. So how far back do I want to go with this?
Whatever you're comfortable with,
It,
man.
the, I know. It's just like I'm trying to go back in time in my mind right here. So I think my earliest username was a Half-Life reference.
Hmm.
It was Lambda Physicist, and Lambda being the Half-Life logo. That's the Greek symbol. Um, and I had a fixation with particle physics, and so naturally I had identified pretty strongly with the game. Half-Life 1 and 2, and episodes 1 and 2. I still haven't finished Half-Life Alyx,
Ah,
even though it came with my index.
you're missing a
I
whole lot,
know.
man.
I know. I know. I'm a fake fan. I haven't fucking completed Half-Life Alyx.
Oh, it's okay.
But yeah, yeah. So like I went from like lambda physicist, I'm like, that's too long, and people pronounce lambda wrong all the time, and I got tired of it. So it was just like, okay, let me do the physicist, I guess. Whatever. I still had a fixation with physics at the time. I would read like papers on like theoretical physics, quantum mechanics, things like that. I'm not gonna pretend I understood everything I read, but I still thought it was like really interesting the stuff that I could kind of understand.
Hmm.
Um, so after a while, that kind of got turned into Fyzika, but Physika, which is like similar to the spellings of like other languages for the word physics. Um, it's just something I had in my mind. I'm like, oh, that sounds pretty cool. Um, and then that's Physika. Physik is the one that I ran for like a while. That's the one I stuck with the most. And I only changed it to this spelling because there was a hardstyle producer who has the exact same name and spelling. So I was kind of screwed. If I wanted to do music, and especially produce music, I don't want to be confused with someone else who's kind of like already doing stuff for a while. And it's pretty good actually. So I had changed the spelling from Physyka to Fyzika, which happens to be the spelling of the word physics in the Czech language.
Oh, that's actually very interesting. I've never had an answer like that. So thank you for sharing. It's quite interesting.
Thank you. Yeah. There's a little bit of history on that.
Hey, that's a-okay. I enjoy hearing and learning all forms of whatever people's history is.
Oh, you asked about the avatar too.
Yes.
So, I mean, this wasn't the first base that I used. I used another like base that I got from Sketchfab. I'm not gonna show it. I don't like it. I hated it. But it's what I had, and I'm like, I didn't know much about Unity, so I did some like quick edits to make it a little bit more unique, and that's what I ran with for a while. And then later on, like I had like a male base that I got from Booth. That one's all right. But at some point, I don't know, I wanted to try a female avatar because I always use male avatars. And so I decided with a Kikyo, which is the base that I'm using right now. And this wasn't the first outfit that I used for it. Like another one was more like, I guess like leather type clothing, like gloves, like and like leather skirt or whatever, combat boots and all that stuff. It was more like a emo, I suppose. But eventually, like I kind of wanted to go for a more like, I don't know what to call this look. Like I have one with a jacket actually. Let me see if I can just like pull it out.
Go right ahead. I'd love to see it.
I think it's this one. Yeah. Like this is the one with the jacket. But at some point I decided to just like drop the jacket entirely.
Okay.
And I've kind of just like sticking with this look because I think it looks pretty cool. And then added glasses to it as well. And once I made this edit, like I posted pictures on Twitter and it kind of got like 70 something likes, which I was surprised with that response. So I'm like, oh, okay, I guess people like this look. I guess I'll stick with it for a while. But I mean, I don't know if I can't think of like any particular reason why I decided exactly with this. I just think it looks good.
Okay.
It looks cool and I think matches like the vibe that I try to go for with like what I do in music or like how I am as a person, I suppose.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for sharing everything with us. It's been greatly appreciated learning all about you. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
No problem. Where can the audience find you if they wish to reach out and find you?
Well, I have Twitter, Fyzika_. I have a SoundCloud, which is just Fyzika. Username Fyzika. What else? Oh, if you guys wanted to check out my mixes, I have them on Audius, which is Audius. And that's also under the Fyzika name. So that's where I've been uploading my mixes these days because I think it's the better service for that sort of thing. Uploading on SoundCloud and Mixcloud has been like a pain in the ass. So I'm not gonna get into why. There's like some things about the platforms that I just don't like. So I just went with Audius, and that's been working pretty well for me. But yeah, those are my socials. The last thing I released was on Narshwal's label, Consinity, which I had mentioned previously before, Descent. That track is pretty good. Should check it out. And there was also something else I had uploaded on SoundCloud pretty recently. Not an official release or anything like that, but it's like a remix of another track. You know, just me messing around with different genres, just having fun.
Well, everything will
Yeah.
be in the hoobly what's it down that way somewhere. Also, I would do the thing, but Rapper's not here to do the thing, so instead I'll pose you with a question, audience. When's the last time you did something that made you uncomfortable? Let us know down below. Thank you for your time. We'll see you in the metaverse.